Hey, this is Taylor with Believe in the Run. I wanted to let you know that the podcasts are getting their own channel. As we continue to grow, please search and follow BITR Networks on YouTube and Instagram to find all of the podcast related content. If you're looking for the shoe and gear reviews, you can find those on believeintherun.com or search Believe in the Run on YouTube and Instagram. Thank you for your support. Here's the show.
Give a good stretch, got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you want to talk fun, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the drop, D-R-O-P. Believe in the run.
Hey, this is Taylor with Believe in the Run.
And Reese with Believe in the Run.
And Alex with Believe in the Run.
And you have stumbled upon the Dirt Division segment of the Drop Podcast, where we talk a lot about a lot and a little about a lot, and mostly sometimes potentially could come back to trail running, hopefully.
Allegedly.
Would you agree? Allegedly. That's what they tell us. But
I think we mention it at least once every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
at least the name of the sport.
I think we say running.
And this week,
Check.
I'm pretty excited because it's our follow-up to last week's Complaining and Jest. And this week is my second favorite thing to do, which is waxing poetic about something. And I'm just going to say this. I know we have some other topics to touch on before we get to it, but I'm going to go ahead and say that we're all very passionate people who feel deeply. And I think I'm going to say like at least 2/3 of us will cry.
Don't say cry. It makes me want to cry.
We were already talking about crying before this, actually.
We're emotional.
But, and it takes a lot to get me to cry. And even if I feel it, I just don't for some reason. It's not that I'm against it. I'm just not necessarily a crier, which is so weird because as a kid, that was my response basically to everything. Being the youngest, of like, you learn how and when and how hard to cry and all that kind of stuff. So maybe I'm just cried out as an adult. But as I was thinking about this topic of like, yeah, I was just driving to get my girls from school and just thinking about how running has impacted my life and trail running and ultra running. And like one of the most integral pieces of my whole life. And so I started to, feel it a little bit then. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
For
Taylor,
sure.
I also want to give you kudos because like last week I know was kind of stepping outside your comfort zone, but you used the term, I rewatched it and you were like, use the term stupid, waste of time, frustrating. And you were like blaming Scott Jurek for things. And you did really good. So I just want to
Thank you.
applaud that.
I love this.
I do think some of this is like inherently stupid. Like it's just not the right way of thinking about things of like, and so some of it is stupid and I'll hold true to that for sure. And I do blame Scott Jurek. Like he is, fellow Minnesotan, right? So he's motivating from that perspective of like, and when I was starting to get into trail running, I was reading, he was one of the few people, him and Hal Corner, and I didn't read the ultra running guy, Dean Karnassus, but him and Hal Corner are definitely to blame for me to like really like taking that next step into trail running myself. So I'm not taking that back either. Blame you, Scotty J.
It.
And I just like calling him Scotty J as if he's my homeboy, but I feel like you need to separate because he's not your boy Scott Jurek. He's not that person. A lot of people think that the your boy Scott Jurek Instagram account, which is my form of comedy for sure, that's him, but it's not. So I like calling him.
That's
Scotty
what they
J
want you to think, Taylor.
Or is he?
Yeah, he's told me personally that it's not, but maybe he's just really wants to cover that up. I know some people who know who it is, and I don't want to know. And that's just one of those things. Even if it was Scott, I don't want to. It's just your boy. But as much as running has touched us all, there is this big thing going on that doesn't involve running right now, but it involves a few runners. It's called the Olympics. And I was watching this morning. I didn't get up at 1:55 a.m. Mountain Standard Time to watch it live, but I did get to watch the finals and the semifinals live.
4:30,
And
Taylor?
yeah, it was 4:55,
Was it
but I already had my
4:30? Yeah.
coffee.
Okay,
I
George
was up.
needs to hear 4:30.
Yep, 4:30. Drink up, George. I'll be sure to work that in more often. But I mean, it was interesting to see. I mean, we have Cam Smith from Crested Butte. He's a pro trail runner, pro ski mountaineer athlete as well. And then Anna Gibson, who we've interviewed on the drop too. She's also, world-class trail runner and has just jumped into this is like her third or fourth competitive race as a ski mountaineer. And she's in, the semifinals of the sprint. But as I was watching this morning of like, when something becomes an Olympic discipline, it always comes with the risk of watering something down. And so as I was watching this ski mountaineering, and, I live in the mountains, it's a very popular thing to do at least among my friend groups. I get out and do some of it sometimes. And it was a weird rub, like internally, to watch this 2.5 minute to 3 minute sprint up only 230 feet of gain in a very fabricated way. And part of me is like, this is amazing. Like, these athletes get this opportunity. Like, that's one thing. But the other thing is like, is it ripping part of their soul out a little bit to do it in this way? So I was just curious about your guys' thoughts of that. And trail running itself is kind of following that path on it could happen within like not the next Olympic cycle, but the following. And what would you think of that?
Is this soul crushing? I don't know. I think it's the Olympics. So I think it I think just to be there and to embrace whatever is happening there, I think is the point of it. So I think, and I also think that being a competitor is knowing that everyone is doing the same course that you are. Everyone is facing, similar conditions. So I think maybe it's not soul crushing. It's probably just like, oh my gosh, I'm here at the Olympics. And
yeah,
I think things at the Olympics are always a little, right? There's like the opening ceremony. There's like this whole thing that is a little fabricated. So I think this is, par for the course. And it's just like, oh, I'm competing with the best athletes in the world right now. Nothing else necessarily matters. And that's, I guess, like that's I'm not there. I'm not Olympian, but I would guess that's probably what they're thinking, maybe.
And I would hope so, right? But I just found myself having a weird rub that I didn't think I would, because I love the Olympics. It's the one time we have like a Peacock subscription, and like then we let it lapse and wait for the next time the Olympics comes on, and then we get a Peacock subscription again. And so like I love competition. I love the Olympics. I just wonder if some people, I know that's a prevailing concern for trail running. Like, would it water it down to such a level to be in the Olympics that it didn't feel like trail running? And so I don't know, just a thought.
I mean, I guess depending, I don't know where it is. Where is it LA?
In the next one, but the following after that, I don't even know where it is.
Because I think
Australia again.
I think, depending on where it's at, I mean, LA has some cool trails. It would probably be more like gravel adjacent, but I mean, that would be hard. The hills of LA are, I think, pretty legit. And I think, I don't know what the requirements are for locations, but I think it can be within like a certain distance of the main thing.
Exactly.
So I think if they could, take some liberties there to find some cool trails, that would be ideal.
Yeah, I also think there's opportunity there for like growth in that sport and exposing people to it. And I know it's like a shortened kind of abbreviated version of like the more traditional, like longer, more grueling outings that people do, but I do think there's value in exposing people to it and growing the sport and kind of what that might come with.
You guys are really in character this week of being positive,
really
and I'm
positive,
stuck in
Taylor.
last week. Apparently, like this is our switch. What has happened to us?
Ultimately, I'm like, well,
Okay,
that's like you said, kind of contrived and
Yeah.
kind of shortened and not quite what
Sure.
it is. But
And I do have other thoughts about it. I just didn't know if other people, as I don't care about most other people's strong opinions, I do care about yours. So I wanted to bring that up. Okay, but to our topic today, it is about trail running, actually. And
It
like you
is.
said, Reese, it is the flip side of the coin of last week's episode. These are the reasons why we think you should run an ultra.
Who wants to go first?
Reese, I think you should start.
Oh man. I was hoping I wouldn't. Okay.
You just don't want to cry yet.
I know, that's literally it.
I see it in your eyes already.
I know. What the heck?
I feel like you're getting misty.
I probably am. I'm just like, I wasn't ready. I needed to steel myself for this. But I think, God, like this topic, it's funny because last week I felt like when you complain in jest, it really is funny. Like the stuff that we talked about was, they were all like somewhat superficial things, except for, like rhabdo.
That's internal for sure.
Don't minimize my acute kidney injury.
Yes. But I think when I was like, okay, really put some thought into this one, because there are so many books written about like why people run or why people do crazy, not even crazy, but just things that go against the human condition, which is, right, like we're hedonic beings. We, I think, want gluttony and pleasure and the easy
What
thing.
does hedonic mean? I need that one in my...
it's more, it's like pleasurable pursuits.
Okay.
So like, if it were up to my gluttonous hedonic self, I'd probably be like, eating really fatty food, sitting on the couch, and probably like there would be some kind of...
Sounds like my life.
Well, the other part is probably like pleasure in all senses. We'll keep it PG.
Okay.
So I think like that's the easy inclination. So when I look at the, I think, wasn't it Benjamin Franklin who was like, make a list of like pros and cons of things, and that's how you can come up with a rational choice. And for us, I was like, the list of cons, like we could have kept going, because even after the fact, I'm sure you right. I was like, oh my God, like I didn't even mention like extreme like body dysmorphia, eating disorder, like all of these things. And then I was like, okay, I think my pro list isn't as lengthy as my con list, but that the balance will always tip towards doing it rather than not, regardless of cons. Did you all feel that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, there's to your point of like, there's so much more weight to all of these positive things than any of the negative things, because those negative things are like mostly petty, right? Yeah. Of like fairly small. It was fun to talk about them, but whenever I think about running, trail running, ultras, it's always like people probably would just catch me on a bench smiling because I'm thinking about running, and how much it's impacted my life more positively than anything. So yeah, it just carries so much more weight, a lot of these things.
Yeah,
for sure.
And as I was thinking about it, right, I'm like sitting down and like, think for me, when I need to like get perspective of why I'm doing something, I really need to have a contrast. Like if I'm over on this side, what is the opposite of me? To be like, why don't I like that? And this is so like I'm making this list, and my neighbors who like their days stack on days, and it's literally like never go outside. And when they do, it's like to stare at their phone and get high and then go back in. And I'm not like, I've lived next to them for 4 years. It's legit. And I was like, oh my God, like that to me seems like such a muted life. And when I think about like, it's not just like ultra running, it's like anything that you are passionate about through and through. And that could be parenting, being a CEO, playing an instrument, whatever it is, but something that requires deep passion because you experience low lows and high highs. And I think that like muted experience of like the in between is just not where people, I'm going to go say like us, function well. I think as we've discussed, you know, we're people that like need to like feel it. Like I need to feel something. I'm not good with soft touches, slight nuances. And I think ultra running to me, the main thing outside of like community and all of this, it's like I get to experience, even just for a few hours or 12 hours, like life at complete full volume. And to me, there's nothing better than that. And I can like, but I'm like, why would you not do it? If that makes sense.
Yeah. It is such a saturated like space and time of like,
yeah,
you know, having coached for how many years and having been coached of like, I'm just so thankful for people pouring into me and telling me early on of like how running itself can mirror life in so many ways. And then when you step into this ultra running and like, I think of Bill Yang in his like life in a day type videos, but that life in a day is really because doing these experiences with ultra running, you experience, like you said, so many highs, so many lows, pretty much everything in between. And just, it's just such a saturated experience is the best way to put it, I think. And I agree. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be running or ultra running. That's us. That's what we like. But I think there's a natural, like innate, like spiritual pursuit of something of that nature in each of us. And whether like we try to go for it or not is kind of the like life enhanced or life wasted in a sense, right? Of like, but I very much resonate with that, Reese.
It's just like this muted experience of life that feels so safe that I don't think I'm okay with. And I think maybe Alex, and maybe I guess like you and I have had an eating disorder, which is a numbing experience. Like it really is to not feel the low lows, even though you are, but you never get the high highs because you're always at this like surface
Kinda
level.
here. Yep.
Yeah, you've boxed yourself in. And I think a lot of people that use other coping mechanisms to numb themselves, probably once they've gotten past that numbing, when you look back at it, you're like, oh, never again. I could never do that. Like I'm okay feeling the low lows because I know I'm like, oh, that glimmer of feeling like so good makes everything worth it. And I think that's probably like the same for parenting. I don't think parenting is probably great all of the time, but I'm sure there's like that moment where you're like, it's worth it. And I think that's kind of like, I feel like that's kind of what ultra running does, because it is so against like human nature, right? Like I spent Tuesday just running up and down a hill fast, and I'm doing it and I'm just like, this isn't that great, but I'm loving it. And like, I love the after effect of how I'll be in a month. And I think it's just like putting in that hard work and earning all of the feelings that you get is just so, again, it's like that full experience. And I feel like everything is a little sweeter. Like I know what the top of a mountain looks like because I earned it, not because I saw it on Instagram. And I know what the bottom of the Grand Canyon like feels like and smells like and how to get back to the top because I earned it and not just like sat there numbing myself watching others live. I'm like, no, I did this. And I'm super proud of myself and like the turned ankles and the whatevers, you know, I'm okay with that because it seems riskier to not do it. It seems so much more muted and boring and like lifeless.
Yeah, I feel like life is comfortable and we obviously take part in that and enjoy that. But there's so many times where it's like you get to go be uncomfortable on your own terms and you get to like kind of have a little bit of control over like what that feels like. So when things are heavy, like most recently I was thinking about how like these multi-day things and just like the long stuff that I do is like so parallel to life, like Taylor said, but like it helps me get through things from like 18-hour car drives to like 2 years ago when like or 3 years ago when like I lost my dad one year and then my mom the next year and then my brother the next year. And I remember I just thought through all of that because I sat there and like was with them, like my mom and dad through like their final days and just through all of it and just like very close up. And I just remember thinking like one day at a time, like 1 hour at a time, because have to break this down in my races where I'm just like, I'm in so much pain and this is so miserable. Yeah, but I had to remind myself, like, get to do it. I choose to do it. And just like get to the next aid station, just take a couple more steps. And that's exactly like where my mind just like snapped to during those times where I'm like, it wasn't a good outcome, obviously, that I was going toward, but I was like, you can do this. Just take care of yourself for 1 hour. Like, get through the next, like, hospital visit. Get them back, like, try to have them be stable. Like, do what you can to take care of yourself and take care of them so that you can, like, just get to that next hour, you know, and, like, the next day. And it's just, like, every day I was just like, okay, just taking care of myself. Like, you have to eat, you have to drink water, or you can't keep moving. And you have to try to go home and go to sleep and like take a little space. But I feel like those processes like that involve grief or just like these very heavy times, I feel like it has been like my steadfast like companion that I'm just like, no one can take this from me. I have this as long as I take care of myself and take care of it and respect it. And it just like everything I learned through training and running and racing is just like it helped me kind of survive those times when I was like, I can't do this. I can't keep going. I can't just want to shut down and disengage from all of it. And the eating disorder stuff too. This is actually when I started running, I was like 13 and I was like, oh, cool. I can run a lot and get skinnier on top of not eating and
Classic.
kind of hurting myself that way of like, this is a pain I can control. And I feel like it's helped me like keep me accountable through recovery and of just like, again, if you don't take care of yourself, you don't get to do this thing that you love and that makes you feel good. So I feel like in a big way, it's helped me heal from that and like stay in recovery. Like obviously I have thoughts and, you know, like it's this ongoing everyday process, but I feel like I've kind of let go of like the body dysmorphia stuff is really hard, but I try to let go of that and just like my body can do really cool things. I can run every day. I can like sign up for these races and train hard and like get through them. And like you said, go up mountains and go down into the Grand Canyon and get back out and trying to like appreciate my body. And like, so it's really helped me kind of repair that relationship too of like just kind of the self-loathing dysmorphic idea that I had about myself. But yeah, those are the two big things for me. And just like you said too, of just you get to explore places so intimately. Like you get to go places and see things and experience nature and experience people and the trails and the environment like in such a cool, intimate way that you don't get when you just go stand at the rim and take photos, or you see photos on Instagram or something like that. So that's like a huge part of it for me too. And just like structure, like it adds structure to my days and my life, and just helps me kind of, again, keep myself accountable and keep a good routine and not slip back into like addictive patterns that are unhealthy, even though this is like maybe we say healthy, healthy
It's an
addiction.
addiction for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely an
Yeah.
addiction, but it's better than what I used to do in the past.
Yeah.
So
You're kind of pinging a couple like places in my brain and emotions. And one is like, I know this is more broader of like running as a sport and what it is to us, but it definitely pertains to ultra, because if you're going ultra, you're going to be running more often inherently. And for me, what that really means is that I think for all of us, it puts us in this space and time that's so unique, so pulled out of the norm of our day, even though it is a normal thing in our day. But like I always think of running as a space, not just a fitness thing or an activity, but it's like it's my spiritual space, it's my mental space, physical space. It's like space to do all of that. And that was kind of on one of my checklist items too, of like overall wellness is inherently improved, like research backed on many different levels, that by running, putting yourself in this space, you are becoming a better person. And I guess that's life, right? Like that's what we want with our life, that like from when we were born to when we die, of like hopefully we can say that we have become a better human. And I try to think back of like if I didn't have running, or even if I didn't have this like more recent 15 years of trail and ultra running, would I be a different person? Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully I would have found something else that could help aid in that too. But we know that running has done that for us. So that was one thing. And then the other one is kind of piggybacking off of both of you, is and the teacher in me is thinking of this zone of proximal development. Have you heard of that?
No, tell us.
I know you've heard the idea. So that's the teacher term. So the zone of proximal development is like a research-based space for your brain of like there's like this comfort zone where you can learn and you can, it's comfortable, but it's harder to be able to learn and grow in that space. And then you think of it as like a target. Like I would talk to kindergartners about this. I would make a target and talk about the comfy zone, and you can learn, and it's a good place and it feels good. And often things you probably know you're already good at. And so we have that zone in our lives. And I feel like so much of modern day is trying to get to that point for ourselves and our families. And like we want to be in that comfort zone, obviously. And, as humans, modern humans, we can be there. But the risk is, like on the other side of that target is the discomfort zone. And you guys are kind of hitting it of like, you've learned lessons through body dysmorphia and eating disorders. However, that was a very hard lesson to learn. And like, that's not the place our brains can actively be to grow our most. So the amount of growth that your actual cognitive growth from that period of time and that discomforting learning opportunity was probably more minimal as if you were in this zone of proximal development right in between them. And I feel like that's what running naturally does in ultra running. It gives you a space to pop into that zone of proximal development more often than you would in daily life, or that we strive for in daily life. So when I was teaching, I would talk to kids about like, we don't want to be here. We can learn. We don't necessarily want to be here, but we can be. But where we're really striving for is to get in this zone. And I called it the cool zone, like put little sunglasses on and talked about the cool zone and how much I've learned when I get in the cool zone. And actually like you can show kindergartners research of the brain of like, it's not linear, but you get into this opportunity to learn so much more than you ever would. So that when you do come to challenges, like you were saying, Alex, with grief and death, of like running is such a saturated time of life, and that we get to practice and get into this zone mentally, emotionally, spiritually so often, that there's a little bit of hope once we get to those really, really challenging things, because we've experienced it on some level. And where ultra running has come to me of like, again, just going back to what Reese said at the beginning of like, you get to experience all of this in such a short amount of time, one day maybe, or half a day, or whatever the challenge is at hand. And you get to do it with yourself. You get to do it with others that are brand new to your life, or with others that have been in your life like all the time. And so like there's no value I could put on that experience. And so again, like you said, Reese, of like with that nugget alone, this pro side of attempting to do something crazy and ultra is so worth it.
1,000%. Like it's so funny because I'm like,
You almost got me there.
I know. Well, geez, Alex got me. I'm like, I cry so easily now. And I think, well, so it's interesting. It's somewhat related because I feel like when you're like really numb and you're not accustomed to the full range and you don't know like the full volume of your emotions because you've been on that like muted, this is fine phase. Mm-hmm. I think like now as I've gotten older, I'm just like, let it all out. And I definitely cry at the end of like big efforts. And it's not because I'm like, oh, I'm so sad it's over. It's like, it's just a full release of all of it. It's, yep. I am so happy. I'm so tired. I'm so, you're like, I'm not like, oh, that was fine. I'm like, no, this was more than fine. Like this was an insane journey I went through where in 1 minute I am feeling great. I'm so proud of myself. Things are going. And the next minute I'm like, you are trash. You are a terrible runner. You are all these things. And then the next minute I'm like, pick yourself up. And you have to be your own biggest cheerleader. And you have to be vulnerable enough to, I guess, allow the people who are supporting you to help you in that moment. And I think people that are drawn to this sport or people who are drawn to anything that requires showing up day after day and a daily practice, I think you have to be good at those things, be good at navigating the complete nonlinear trajectory of it, and then also allowing people to help you, because I don't know about either of you, but like in the past, very against someone helping me out. I was like, I'm good on my own. Mm-hmm. And I think being able
in the past, I'm like that right now.
Yeah. I think just now having the ability to like, I don't even know if save myself is the right word, but just in that moment of difficulty, like I think when you're alone in the wilderness and you're going through it, you're just going through the hard part. I think having the confidence to be like, nope, I'm good. I got this. And just like get yourself back up, or switching to be like, I need someone's help to get me back. I think having the ability to switch between those is something that in the past I was not good at.
Yeah. I feel like it brings out vulnerability. Yeah. And like also makes you drop your ego. Like there's so many egos in our sport, and like,
oh my God,
we all have it, but some of them are stronger than others. And I have seen these races just strip people down to nothing, and where they are just sitting, crying, throwing up on themselves on a rock in the middle of a race. and it's just like, it's humbling, and it's cool to see people like kind of just having to face their emotions and having to like let go of this time goal or their pace or what they think they'd place in a race and just like get through it. I feel like that's why golden hour, and that's why like later in the race, I love watching that. Like it's fun to see the winners, obviously, but like the stories and the things that people go through out there and what they kind of become and let go of in these like long things are,
Yeah.
I don't know, a huge reason why I do it. And I love that you have control up to a point, but then you have to problem solve and just like respond to things and figure it out. And I feel like it gets people, like, it kind of highlights when people are reactive, like hyper reactive to things, versus like when you can like slow down and respond and problem solve and understand. Like, I always, like, one of my mantras I have tattooed on my body is like, no feeling is final. And I say it all the time through like life and races, where I'm just like, you might be sick, you might be in pain, you might hate this, to your point, Reese, like in 1 minute. And then in a half mile, you're gonna be like, I feel so good. I feel like I'm running like Courtney Dauwalter right now. Like, obviously I never
done
am,
that
but I like
for a
have
few
that
minutes
image
of
where I'm just
life.
like, I'm moving well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're shuffling
Well,
up something.
yeah, you bring up the word like humble or humbled, and we often associate that with like a negative feature of like embarrassment or you failed or something like that. Um, and sure, that can be part of it, but I think humility, I think we've all hinted at it, that ultra running does really teach humility if you're open to it. And I think humility is one of the most underrated characteristics of any person, any human. If we could have anything, like you said, Alex, of like, I think humility is probably a great thing to drink up a little bit, because it offers this perspective, an honest perspective. And sometimes that honest perspective is really going to reveal that you can do so much more. Or it could reveal that I need help, like you said, of like, and that's like really like an honest sense of humility at work. And like you're both hinting at, like when you honor that and like embrace it, not for ego or anything like that, or self-preservation, it's like a really freeing experience. And I feel like, yeah, you just gain so much more, not in a selfish way, but in like a realistic humanity's way of, so like, yeah, humility is something you will naturally get if you're open to it, or you'll get humbled, I guess, by ultra running.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Whatever you choose.
Yeah, Mother Nature has a way of humbling people. It
Mhm.
it definitely gets you to tuck your head in and sit down, for sure, when you're feeling cocky, which I appreciate. I think I think it's great. And I think, Alex, really interesting that you have that tattooed on you, because I have on one of my tattoos. And so before I talk about tattoos, I will say I do think sometimes the tattoos can be like fabricated edge. And when I see someone with
Wait,
like
what did
way
you
too
say?
many
Fabricated
tattoos,
what? Edge?
fabricated edge,
Yeah, you're
it's
edgy.
like, yeah, it's where you're like, oh, I'm like tough and hard. But to me,
That's
sometimes
why
that's
I
like a
have
little,
tattoos.
well,
Yeah.
so do I. I have
I'm just
4.
kidding.
But when you see someone, you're like, this is like a curated, edgy, hard look. And so when we were talking about last week, the like I have scars all over me, and like to me that's like real edge. And I realize my tattoos are like, I hope they don't come across as fabricated edge. But with that, I do have one tattooed that just says "and yet" on it, because as a writer, right, and yet is whatever comes next is about to contradict what came previously. And as I was thinking about these
Deep.
topics, I was like, oh my God, I also have this tattoo because I got it because so much of what I do is, here are the reasons not to, and yet I'm going to do it. And I think
I love that.
that's acknowledging that I'm like, yeah, there are plenty of reasons not to do it, but I'm going to. Like, I can't be stopped. Which I think is, I like that we both have tattoos reminding us. And I always want my tattoos visible for me because I got them for me. And so
Yeah.
this one in particular is always like, it's right under where my watch is.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I love that we're both authentically edgy too.
Oh, yes. Very
Look at you
authentically
guys.
edgy. I am.
Don't come at us.
I'm so much more
Fabricated
elite. Very, very elite.
Should
Not
get you in a
curated.
Satisfy ad. Come on.
Oh, God. I think
Or a
the
currently
other,
running ad. Controversy.
And yeah.
The other
Follow
thing
that.
I do think that as maybe like anecdotal to this conversation, to maybe this like wraps it up, I can't avoid talking about knowing that we're all going to die. And for me,
Yes.
at the
We've had this
end,
conversation on so many
yes,
runs.
right? Like at the end,
Reese always brings it up.
yeah,
It's so
it's
good. You have to
when we
talk
get
about
to
it.
the end, like for me, it's it. Like that's it.
Yep.
There's nothing more. And so when I look at this, what we're doing in general, how I'm spending my days, that's it. Like do it now. Like shake people who aren't living, because I'm like, live it now. You aren't going to get this again. And when I'm like, when I'm
We need to get you a TED
hopefully,
Talk.
yeah, when I'm hopefully old, I just kind of want to get there, look at the odometer and be like, oh, I'm so
She's
tired.
maxed out. Yep.
Yeah, just like I am
You'll have
exhausted.
bags
Like
like mine under your eyes.
yeah, I really like, I want to be exhausted at the end. And I'm like, I don't want to be like, oh, I could get to the next aid station and be like, no, I'm dropping here. This is too much. I'm over
I would
it.
guess on a more existential level, like when people come to the end of their life, we're going here. Of
Yeah.
like that was one of the biggest things that many people had said. I held on or I preserved too much. I
Yeah.
didn't
Waited or
give
put something
enough.
off.
Like
Yep.
if there's some negative thoughts surrounding that, of like, and yeah, how would that look in your life if you could get there and say, yeah, I did well.
I just want to be exhausted. Start slow, then taper off, or start too fast and then taper off.
And then slow down.
Yeah.
But
And
either
eat good
way,
food along the way.
yeah, either way, like I really, and like obviously, like I hope it's not tomorrow or today that I die, but
Yeah, please don't.
hopefully it's like when I'm just kind of like my body just gives out and I'm old and just I can't move anymore. And I just really hope I'm just like, well, we used this to the max. I'm feeling good about that. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Like, please let it happen.
Reese, do you have, this is off topic. It's kind of on topic, whatever. Do you have an advanced directive and like beneficiaries for all your accounts and things like that?
Yes.
You are my person.
Oh, yes.
I try to talk to people all the time because like I experienced a lot of death, like had to deal with 3 years of like active situations related to estates and all of that. And then for years after, like we just wrapped up my brother's estate, and people who don't have beneficiaries on accounts and people who think like a will and just like kind of writing out what they want versus having a beneficiary in every single account you have and like having your advanced directive and assigning those people, like it does not matter. You have to do that or it all goes to probate and you have to go through the courts.
Yep.
So I appreciate that so much because I'm always trying to tell people like at work and my friends who are, I'm just like, you have to do it now. You have to get that set up. If something happens, like you have to think of the people who are still there dealing with all of your shit.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I think just in general, with everything we've said, it comes down to like, if not now, when? Like, when are you going to do it? Go do it. Like, don't
but you
wait.
Can't do it when you're diagnosed with terminal cancer because that's what my parents tried to do. And I'm like, this is not working.
I think just in everything, like, what are you waiting for?
Yep.
Just go do the hard thing. It's going to be worth it. I promise. You'll learn something
maybe start
at the
with
very
a 50K.
least. Yeah.
If you haven't been
50K
there
and then
yet.
go to 100. 100
Yeah,
miles.
yeah.
No.
Exactly. Start with the 50K. And here I thought that we were going to like start with more of the surface level ones and end with this really deep conversation. But leave it to us to just dive right in.
Go in.
Get there.
I
am curious some of the more surface level ones. Do you have any like?
I have one more not surface level one.
Okay, let's.
That I feel like has been kind of like in my face lately. So I recently found my birth family in Korea.
Whoa.
And found out. So it's like I lost my mom, dad, and brother here, and now I have like found my mom, dad, and brother in Korea, and it's kind of like this fucking weird thing. But anyway, I haven't met them, like actually met them yet, but we've been connecting and talking. And the running thing is like, I found out that my mom runs trails. She
Sweet.
has been like hiking and running, and her whole purpose for doing that was to stay healthy in case I ever found her and we reconnected, so that she could be healthy and like have a relationship with me. But I'm like realizing that this running thing, and like she would go to the mountains to like think about me and to heal, because she was just like, so like she regretted it so much, and that's where she like just kind of like let out all of her grief and process things. And to have running be that kind of through line for us of like, that is what pulled me to the mountains too, of like processing
Man.
abuse and trauma and like related to adoption and all this stuff. And to know that we were both like doing that at the same time and like seek out that same thing is just like mind blowing. And we talk about all the time, like I'm going to go to visit her in Korea at some point, and how we're going to go for a run together. And when I think about that, it makes me like I can't breathe. Like it's just like this
Yeah.
deep.
I can't.
I can't even imagine. Like I can't even imagine what that'll feel like, and just I don't know. So just like what it brings and like how it brings you together, and just that shared experience too is just,
That's amazing.
I don't know. I don't even have words for it.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we need to say anything else. That's crazy.
Yeah. I kind of have something to say about that. Like my mom was adopted too, and just recently met her birth parents like in the past couple years. And I know it was a really hard conversation, because with her birth mom, when they were able to sit down and just, obviously a whole lot of awkward, really everybody's feeling a lot in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But because they were sitting at a table kind of just facing each other, it was more like silent. But like you guys get to go out on a run, and I know the conversations I've had with complete strangers running with them for 30 miles. The only thing we have in common is this running, and how much of life we got to like chat about. And, like shout out to Stephen Pretak in Fort Collins. Do you know Stephen?
Actually, George just like ran by accident with him through like the graveyard next to our house. And he's like, do you know this guy? And I was like,
he's always in the graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible runner.
Yes.
Like one of Fort Collins' best. Like he should be a pro probably. However, we got to share like 30 miles together. And, I'll forever just say he's like, we're interconnected in a way that we never would. And you get to potentially do that with your birth mom. And like, you don't have to stare each other in the eyes necessarily to talk,
No,
like,
I hate
running is just a great, exactly. Yeah. Like that's a cool thing that hopefully you get to do. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, maybe I would love your feedback. Kind of what you were saying, but I think women tend to connect eye to eye. Like we want to look at each other while we're talking. However, and men like to be side by side or not make eye contact. But I do think there is something, regardless of whatever gender you are or identify with, that when you're running in like that side by side or single track, you can kind of be a little more vulnerable, because you're in your own little world and you're like, I can get emotional right now, and maybe the other person won't see me. And also I'm wearing gigantic sunglasses probably, but it is like a little bit of a safe space. And there's something about like having your heart rate up. And I don't know, you're out there for like hours. A lot of times you're like, what?
Yeah.
Let's get to it. Like, Taylor, you and I have talked like pretty deeply on runs. And I was like, I know Taylor decently well for like
just
not
because we were running.
Yeah, like just because we're running. And I feel like really connected to a lot of people that I've shared. It's like sharing deep meals with, or running.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that connection piece that I think is so important, just as like humans, right? We have like a loneliness crisis.
Yeah.
And running is such a good conduit for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like that was another thing on my list too, of like, there's so many of these positives again that hold so much more weight because there's depth to it. Whereas a lot of our stuff last week didn't have a whole lot of depth. But there's so much depth here. Even when you say community, I know community is brought up and can be a buzzword, whatever. But like, and you guys know, like the spiritual part of my life is very important. But I really believe like the ultra running community, especially when you're at one of these races of like, everybody's there with the same goal, whether they're running or not. And everybody wants to see you finish. And like, they're putting so much aside, whether they know you or not, to get you to that goal. And that feels like a slice of heaven to me. Like when I think of heaven and my perception of heaven, like that's heaven. Like, and you get it because of the running community. There's no community I've ever been in that's done it better. Even like church communities, like, to be honest, there's nobody that's done it better and genuinely and authentically than the running community. And it shows up in big ways when you do these big adventures or races. So yeah, it's like so much deeper than just saying community. It's great.
Yeah.
Right.
Which it
the
is.
community part
but there's so
was
much
on
more.
my list too. We recently moved like 2 years ago from Minneapolis to Utah. And like the friends that we have, we met through running. They're all running friends. Like we're friends with our neighbors too, but we're actually trying to get them to run too now. But it's just, yeah, it's like join us. But yeah, it's just like, it's all runners, and that's how I connect, and how I've gotten to know people, and how I've gotten to know like their backstories and find connections, personal connections with people, and like made very close friends already is on runs and through running. So moving midlife, I feel like finding that community is huge. And we felt so welcomed and immediately got to just, I don't know, feel at home here because of that. So yeah, the community aspect is huge. And like, to your point, the aid stations and volunteers and at races, like going back to that, like you have this piece of time and space that is just yours, and that people, these strangers, will do anything for you. They will hand you clothes off their back, give you shoes if you need them.
Literally.
Like here's trucking
A fat
poles if
pickle.
something breaks, right? And volunteers are sitting out there like in all weather, not sleeping, standing there, like trying to convince you, will you complain that you're doing great, you look good, please keep going. It's amazing.
Great liars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like these
they're really good at that.
crew and family who's like taking all this time to be with you and support you through this like goal that ultimately doesn't really matter. It's kind of like, you know, but it adds so much meaning, and like the relationships and the experiences you have together are just, you like, I have friends that have crewed me for things like my through hike and other things where I'm just like, they're lifelong friends who we've just been through it together, and we can like laugh at all the things that happen, but it's just like this connection that, and this bond that can never be broken.
I love that.
Yeah.
My
What about the
superficial-
gear?
My superficial one is I love reviewing gear.
I love reviewing gear.
And like preparing for these big things.
Yeah.
You guys have a shoe to talk about that I did not run in, and I want y'all to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, like the gear, we don't have to talk too much about it, but we do live in a day and age where you're not just bringing, you don't have to take your road shoes or your hiker and call that a good trail running shoe. Like we legitimately have a trail running shoe for everybody, every race, every style of gait, every sensation you want to feel. Like there's something out there. And it's all fun to try. Most of them are fun to try, right, Alex?
Yes.
Most, yeah.
Tell us about your recent shoe, Alex.
So I ran the Hoka Speedgoat 7. I loved that it was like black and white. I loved that people were starting to compare it to the Evo and like kind of questioning like, is the Evo back in a new form? And so I was like, had very high expectations. And again, like this ongoing search for my Cocodona shoe continues. But I put that thing on, and I felt like my shoes, and this is like obviously an exaggeration, but the sensation was that I put my toes into like a toe box that was shaped like this. And I would like kept trying to like
Speedboat is a real thing.
I kept trying to like raise my toes, and I feel like back to like our things. But I was like getting claustrophobic. I'm like, they can't move. And then I was like, just settle down.
Getting claustrophobic because of your toes.
And then I'm like, but I want to do this and I can't. And it just felt like this super rigid, like, I don't know if it's the toe bumper or just the construction of the upper in general. It was like stiff and rigid, and I could not, I just imagined like trying to do a long run even in those. And like the lack of ability for my feet to swell or spread out. And I do not have a wide foot, and I don't have like a high volume foot. And it did not feel good. And then I probably put 14 miles on that shoe. And after 2 days wearing it, my pinky toe was starting to get that feeling like you're going to lose a nail.
Oh,
I was like, are you kidding? Like, this is not the Evo. This is not like, I don't understand why it doesn't work.
When you think of the Evo, because I never wore it, of like, what is the hallmark of the Evo? I've always just assumed, you know, with a matrix upper, it's one of the first to use that. Like, fit was the thing. And is that when you think of the Evo, that's what you like mostly loved about it? Overall fit?
Yeah, the matrix upper just worked. It didn't crease to a point where it was kind of this like hard, almost plasticky feeling crease where it's like bending over your toes.
I hate that.
The toe box, like we measured, like we got out our little tool and we measured the toe box and everything, and it was like, it should work, but I feel like it's just the construction of the upper that just does not.
And it does have a really firm bumper. I felt that too, both the outside pinky toe and especially downhill, bumping into that rough toe bumper. But that was like the most of my complaints. What about like the foam and everything? Obviously, we don't even need to talk about Vibram Mega Grip. That was solid.
Yeah, the grip.
What about the foam to you?
The grip was fantastic. Honestly, the foam is good. I just could not get over the toe box. Yeah. Because I'm like, the foam, everything else I feel like works, the heel, everything. But it was just like that toe box. It was just too narrow and too pointed. And again, my foot is not wide. I don't have a wide, large volume foot.
I think I'll have to ask, but let's get a wide version of it to you and to see if that makes a difference. Because I think that's going to be the next question. Because I think the rest of the shoe is actually a lot of what people are looking for, kind of like bridging that old school, new school a little bit. And it's the Speedgoat after all. You want it to be able to work. So I wonder if we could get you a wide version, if that would make any difference, or is that going to add too much volume to the midfoot?
How much wider is a wide? I don't
know. That's the thing. And where is it more wide? Is it more wide throughout the foot, or is it just the toe box? See, if it was just the toe box, like I would be interested in that. And I don't often want or desire a wide shoe. And so, okay. I'm going to note that right now.
Yeah, I was disappointed. Okay. I don't have them anymore.
Yeah. And you have a shoe to talk about, Reese.
I do. And I was just writing the review of it, and it's just a review about eating humble pie for me.
See, humility is good. We talked about that.
Yeah. I was not a fan of the Agravic Speed Ultra 2 or 1.
Or definitely the TT. 2 both.
Yeah.
You did not like the TT.
For the reasons for the ASU 2 was it was just such an aggressive rocker. It was my Bosu ball shoe. I got injured wearing both of them. I had low expectations for the Speed 2, thinking that the lower stack just wasn't going to solve the rocker issue. I think I'm wrong so far. And I've put like a decent amount of miles in them. I've done some like uphill speed work. I've definitely run downhills like pretty quick in them. And I'm having a ton of fun in it, but it's my kind of shoe where it's low stack. The heel is narrow and not crazy padded. It's pretty minimal, even around like the heel collar. And I'm still a little cautious on descents just because, again, I'm not quite sure of its stability. And I think if you turn your ankle, it's gonna be bad. Not as bad as the ASU 2, just because it's lower stack. But it's just fun. Like I ran from my house 2 miles of road to a trail, and I was fine. I was like, I'm not annoyed. The lugs are super minimal. I think I'm still not sure why they use a full rubber outsole. I'm like, you guys could slim this down quite a bit. Like Continental is phenomenal. Just trust it. Like,
Like, do the light.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I wonder if some of that is because this is just a one big puck of Light Strike Pro midsole, which is very energetic, softer. And I
Yeah.
wonder if they did that to add a little bit of structure. Maybe.
Probably.
Because
I just,
that's a great way to save weight if you wanted to make it lighter.
yeah. And that's like, I was shocked
How's
on
the
the
heel on it for you?
The heel is great.
Sorry.
Like, I'm having no issues now that I'm in a size, I think I'm in a size 7 women's. So a half size down
Instead of a
fits
7.5.
perfectly.
Okay.
I will say that the toe box is angled pretty aggressively, and it's kind of like a little bit pointy, which I don't know is necessarily needed, but I can tell that my pinky is rubbing slightly.
But like the Speedgoat and like the Agravic Speed Ultra 2 and the Agravic TT, which I'm writing the review right now, all of those I had pinky toe rub.
Okay.
And so it makes sense that if it's the same shape.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I just looked up the specs. It says it's a 3527 stack. And so right in there with like kind of the average range of trail shoes these days. An 8mm drop, which we just met up and did the Nike ACG Ultrafly review. And that one had an 8.5mm drop. And that one, got us both. I think there's more than just the drop that's in common there of like that the stiff plate and everything really negatively got us. So it's interesting that without a stiff plate in this lighter shoe, that 8mm doesn't seem to be bothering you.
No.
Yeah.
And I feel way more confident on a descent than I did in the Nike. I feel just fine, especially going on what is very prominent here or consistent throughout most of the Front Range trails, which is kind of those, it's like loose, rocky descents
hard packed,
or ascents.
but there are definitely some things in your way.
Like, you got to jump around a bit, or you got to be okay with like a little sliding out. And way more confident in the Adidas Speed 2.
Yeah. And I would say that the Ultrafly definitely compares more to the ASU2, not just the AS2. And so that's one thing to consider. Okay.
Yep.
And your first thoughts? Do you have a first thought that should be up on YouTube that fleshes a lot of that more out, a little bit more than what we just talked about? But I have to ask. Okay. So when we met up, we did the review, first thoughts, all that. I also gave you a few packages of the LMNT bubbly slim cans. What'd you think?
Again, skeptical at first, just because that's just who I am. I'm like, another drink. But I had run 20 miles that day, and I basically just like slammed one as soon as I got home, even though it wasn't like chilled perfectly, and it was very good. And loved that. And I forget which flavor I had. It was maybe the green
there was
can.
Orange or pineapple? Pineapple. That's my favorite right now.
I've heard pineapple is good.
Yes.
Pineapple was really good. And then the next day, because it's spring and February in Colorado, it's like cold mornings, hot afternoons, and I never end up hydrating quite well enough. So that when I got back home, I was like, you stand up and you're just like, I'm definitely dehydrated. So I had more, I had another one, and it was the orange one. And again, it's not overly salty, and you're not feeling overwhelmed with flavor or like artificial sweetness at all. And so I did actually really enjoy it. And George was drinking it too. We ended up just like having to split. We like always split a can because I can't finish anything, apparently. So he's like, I'm just going to have yours.
He's idolatrous.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I do want to tell you what I've been doing. So one thing you might not know about me, before becoming an educator, I was going to go to culinary school. And so like, that's just something I really like to do.
What?
And so like, I'm always looking for like different ways to do this. And I like so initially I like just taking the normal element packets, especially like the citrus one, and mixing it with a bubbly water. But now they have the slim cans. And the nice thing about it is that it's like half the salt. So I can drink it whenever I want, like kind of guilt free, and do a couple a day. I might not be able to handle 2 beers, but I can handle 2 slim cans of element. But I've been mixing the pineapple specifically with some mango juice so that I can like sip it for a little bit longer, because I just chug these cans so quick. And feel good about it because I'm getting all the electrolytes, the potassium, the magnesium, all that. But mixing it with some mango juice, you gotta try it.
I thought you were going to
preface this with, I was going to be a chef.
I was going to be a chef, and I did for a little bit of time, but
I honestly thought that you were going to say that you were like going to be a mixologist and you were making cocktails with this.
Well, now I basically am.
I could see this as a margarita for sure. But I was like,
I did that this week. Yeah.
I was like, where's Taylor going with this?
Yes. So my wife and I, we didn't have a mixer because we've never made margaritas at home. And we're like, okay, this winter, if we're going to drink, let's just try making good margaritas, because Ed's Cantina in Estes Park has the best avocado margarita. And I didn't make avocado, but we didn't end up getting like, are you supposed to get like some sort of mixer with it? So it's just basically straight alcohol. But I mixed element in there and it was great. It was awesome.
Amazing.
I
love that.
For more recipes by Taylor.
Yes. Yeah. Stick around.
One more thing.
Okay, and then I got to go.
Yes. If you take the mango juice, half mango juice, half of the pineapple bubbly. I want the bubbles. And then you take frozen fruit, frozen berries, like frozen blackberries specifically, put those in as your ice cubes. And then by the time you get to the bottom, they're just like soaked in these juice and element, and dump them back.
Is that called like WAP? Like the fun version of that? Remember WAP parties? Where it was just like this fruit punch with soaked fruit and booze. Is it WAP?
WAP is the Cardi B song. I think that means something totally else. What kind of parties are we going to?
Those northern Minnesota WAP parties.
Taylor, come on.
Right after the church potluck.
No?
I don't know.
Oh my God. Yeah, in my head, I'm like, this is...
I believe you, but I've never heard of it.
If I Google this, I feel like I'm not going to come with it right.
I don't know.
It has to be a WH WAP.
Google WAP.
Okay. On that note,
we are digressing.
Your girl has got to go.
Okay.
Wapatui.
Squad.
Wapatui.
Wapatui. Okay. It's multiple syllables. Like the Adidas Terrex Agravic.
Dude, don't get me started on names. I hate them. Okay. I'll see y'all next week.
It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next week. Bye squad.
Bye.
Hey, this is Taylor with Believe in the Run, and today I get the privilege again, and I say again because we've had this conversation and technology was working against us already, but I'm actually really glad to talk to you again after some recent activities you've been up to. I'm chatting with Erin Ton she's a Teva Beureau of Adventure athlete, which sounds so professional and so cool. I have
professional
a
adventurer,
that says it, and I feel exactly. Yeah, she's a professional adventurer, and that, like, what better job is there? So, welcome back to the show, Erin.
Thanks, Taylor. It's good to be back. Yeah, it all worked out for the better because now we can catch up on most recent adventures.
Yeah, and you, I mean, just following on Instagram and whatnot, of like, your adventure list is stout. And I kind of like have this idea of like, where in the world is it Carmen Sandiego? Is that how it originally was? Maybe you're not old enough for that. But where in the world is Erin Ton really is what I'm wondering, of like, where are you right now and what are you up to?
Yeah, I know. I can't even keep track of myself at times. I'm currently in Bariloche, Argentina. This was a very last-minute trip. The Skyrunning race series, they heard about my Aconcagua, and they reached out to me. Oh, sorry, I'm in a hotel, and I think the housekeepers are knocking on the door. But
you're good.
anyways, yeah, they reached out to me, and it flew me down here for the Quattro Refugio Sky Race here in a couple days. So it's about it's about a marathon distance with like 11,000 feet of climbing on some pretty technical terrain.
Oh gosh.
So I came to Bariloche about a year ago and ran most of the course just like on my own free time. So yeah, I've been able to get a little course preview and know what's in store.
Yeah, and you were just telling me right before this that you are more into the FKT scene, the adventure side of things, and don't tend to lean toward races. But this is obviously a high level race, the Sky Running World Series. So, and you're tapering. How does that feel as compared to your normal mode of doing things?
Yeah, so this is a bit of a departure from my norm. Like, I'm very used to like my FKT routine and like, know like when and how I should like recover before efforts depending on the scale of them. But yeah, I'm 2 days out from the race and trying to take it very easy, which is hard. It's beautiful, sunny summertime day here in Bariloche, and I'm like, oh, I just want to be out in the mountains. But yeah, so I think
It's
I'm
like
definitely
the hardest
feeling
tension.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling like a little bit of the like race anxiety that I don't normally get with FKTs. Like I'm very comfortable and secure like going out and doing these solo efforts in the mountains, but like the race format and context is just like a totally different feeling. But I know like it'll be a great way to like get the most out of myself.
Yeah, and in a different way. And I feel more along, I grew up running and had that competitive side. And that was originally why I got into running and continue to do it today. Of like, the competitive piece is one of those things I really enjoy. And the FKT scene, like when we compare it to racing, it's just a different way of competition with yourself or competition with others. And it's obvious that like, I mean, perhaps you prefer the competition with yourself more, at least it appears based on your list of FKTs, which is the most of any female. Are you the top of the list for all genders for FKTs?
Not quite. There is one man, I believe he lives in Europe, who has surpassed the 200 mark, but I'm quickly approaching. So I think sometime in 2026 I'll surpass him.
Yeah, I believe it. And when you think of like, I mean, you're really comfortable in that setting. So what makes you kind of anxious or semi uncomfortable in this race setting?
Well, I think like I originally got into the sport of mountain running more for like curiosity and exploration of like, different environments and landscapes and how my mind and my body would hold up in those. So it felt like it originated from more of like a solitary place. And I have done some races before. I did like an 8-day stage race through the Austrian Alps a few years ago, the Transalpine race. And like that was one of like my fondest memories in the mountains ever, like even though it wasn't an FKT. And like I felt like every single one of those days like I was pushed to my maximum because of like the other people around me. So it was really cool to tap into, but I just feel like I'll always be like my own harshest critic and like I know what I'm capable of. And so it's like, if anything, like a race is very different. Like you have one set day, like FKTs, I can kind of choose the days that I feel good and that the weather works out. So I just like the possibility that something is going to go awry and I'm not going to perform like I want to on race day. That's like the source of my anxiety.
Yeah. And there's so many other variables. Like I've had a few FKTs in my career, not the hundreds that you have, but like in those moments
I'm familiar
of
with
like,
yours
I really
in Estes Park.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you have a few up here, don't you? But it's like there's a different way of approaching it, like mentally. Like I can just lock in and it feels somewhat like a hard training run, and I can just kind of do my thing. And I really like those are some of my favorite days. And then in racing, it feels like, you can lock into your own thing, but you also need to be mindful of the people around you and how they are doing their thing. And that's the piece where, like, especially nowadays, like I'd almost rather go towards the like, I just like doing my thing, I guess, and like being competitive that way. Do you kind of feel the same there?
For sure. Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot more strategy involved when it comes to racing. But like I do believe that FKTs, like even though most of the time it's individual, like they're still competitive. You're chasing the ghost of like people's past or
Hmm.
yourself past. And I'm a very like naturally competitive person, so I do really enjoy competition. It's just like very different when you have the people like right there next to you.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's a good example too, because like especially when I'm trying these efforts or going for like some sort of FKT type adventure, I am mindful, but obviously can never see everybody, like this person I'm trying to chase down on the trail. Whereas like in a race, if you were to visually see them come down like minutes ahead of you, potentially if they're ahead of you, there's this kind of mental thing going on of like, okay, I can either let them go or I can push harder to get them. Where not always, at least in the way that I've done FKTs, am I so mindful of like where that person is, besides this end time of like, I just need to push as hard as I can to the top and push as hard as I can to the bottom. Like it's so much more simple, it feels like.
Definitely. Yeah, and I feel like that's why in a race context, it's important to like find that comfort and security like in your own strengths. It's like, even if you're like just keeping up with somebody on this scent or barely behind them, if you know that you can like bomb technical downhill terrain, like banking on that and racing smart so that you don't like blow yourself up on the ascents and then like, these races, these ultras are pretty long. So, like, not getting too, like, in your head early on in the race when there's still many more miles to be run.
Yeah. So then when you're lining up this coming weekend, of like, what are some of the things that you know are your strengths and potentially your weaknesses that you're going to be kind of strategizing with? Um, that would be slightly different than, well, maybe not even different than an FKT, like you're saying.
Um, well, as far as strengths go, this race is at a pretty low altitude, ranging between, I think it's like 3,000 feet up to like 6,000 feet. And having just come off
Okay.
of like Aconcagua and like the high Ecuador volcanoes, like there's so much oxygen in the air down here. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely going to be playing to my advantage during this race. And then as far
What
as
are the
like,
conditions? Yeah.
yeah, it's
Keep going.
it's
Yeah.
pretty
Sorry.
pretty like technical terrain. There's some like cruising miles in there, but we're actually required to wear a helmet throughout the entirety of the race, which will be
Wow.
interesting.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
some very like easy like scrambling hands on rock too, which is like my favorite. But I think like my weaknesses will probably be like the more runnable miles. Like everybody always thinks after like you've spent a lot of time at high altitude, like, oh, you must be like so fit. And it's like, yes, I'm very acclimated, but in terms of like leg turnover and like the very fast, like flat miles, that's probably like where I'm not going to be as strong. But
Okay.
I think my strength is definitely on like the more technical, scrambly terrain in general.
Yeah, and that's what those Skyrunner races are most known for. You're probably going to get less of the very runnable and more of the highly technical true mountain scenario. Um, Now, this past summer, you've had a lot of success recently. You've been on a tear from Central America all the way down to to the tip of Argentina there. But I know this past summer you had a major challenge that you actually failed at. And that doesn't happen too often to you. I'm talking about Nolan's here. And going from Nolan's then and some of the lessons you learned, and maybe we can talk about Nolan's a little bit. And then coming and being able to have the fastest time on Aconcagua. I've been getting better at saying that.
There you
Like
go.
two very, two major routes within the trail running world. Um, can you just talk about like a little bit of Nolan's and like kind of your trajectory to your most recent accolade, and how maybe those have played with each other a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So, for a bit of background context, for those who don't know, Nolan's is about a 100-mile route that connects
Ridiculous.
14 ers in Colorado's Sawatch Range. So, it ranges from like Salida up to Leadville. And it has significant amount of climbing, like 40,000 feet, majority of it that being off-trail backcountry terrain. Yeah, and it's like the first major FKT that I've attempted multiple times now and not been successful right off the bat. It truly is like a puzzle, and so many things have to align for it to come together,
Hmm.
especially when you're trying to go for the record. Um, so yeah, it's definitely one that is still on my list, and I may return for it this summer. We'll see how that works out with other plans. But yeah, it's definitely like, it was very challenging, like mentally to go through that. But I think it's like made me develop more of a thick skin and like be comfortable and confident like with my athletic abilities. And I think that I will be able to translate that to future projects. And yeah, connecting that with Aconcagua, even like I got the short record and I went back for the long record, and the weather just said nope, not today. And so I did like 36 of the 40 miles for that long record and
Hmm.
had to make the call above Camp 2. It was actively snowing on me. I was like post holing through deep snow that we got the night before. My toes were freezing and fingers were freezing. And yeah, it's just like, especially like as I get into the world of like high mountains, so much more of it is like not just like is your body and mind ready, but like will the weather and conditions, like will those align for you? And so you just got to be comfortable with like, if you need to turn around, the mountain will always be there and you can always go back.
Yeah, and I've had to exercise that on such a small scale, and doing it like just in a hailstorm, and like I can go back in today and do the same thing, and like to be comfortable with that, um, and not necessarily deeming it as failure has been like it's paramount for us mountain folk for sure. Um, when you think of like just the conditions. Like we know mountains here. You're from Colorado. You've been in the mountains obviously a ton. And like what are the different challenges? We have really serious terrain here, and I don't want to downplay the Colorado mountains, Rockies for anybody. But when you go to places like you were recently in Quito, and then you went down to Aconcagua and Cotopaxi, all these above like 15,000 feet, where altitude plays such a major factor, not just on your body, but also in terms of conditions. What has been some of your learnings in that next level of high altitude, not just the Colorado 14ers, but even higher?
Yeah, and I think it's really important to like keep in mind at high altitudes, like your decision making paradigm kind of like becomes slowed and impaired a little bit too. Um, yeah, I've never like struggled with like altitude too much, like at least in the Colorado 14ers. But like I think when I started delving into the world of high altitude mountains and going for speed records on them, like I had to become comfortable with like going slower. Like like you're not sprinting up these mountains. It's more so just like very fast hiking. And even then, like on Aconcagua, like those last 1,000 feet, it's just more like hiking and like not stopping and like pushing through. So yeah, like defining the way like I think about what it means to be like running at high altitudes.
Yeah, because that's a space where a lot of people aspire to get into, especially as our world, the modern world, like pretty much anybody can go do any of these adventures. And we're used to it in Colorado with kind of the 14er craze. And there's a lot of things that can go wrong because they seem so accessible, but they're not. Even viewing you going up Cotopaxi or Aconcagua, it seems more successful or more accessible than they actually are. So like when you're up there, could you describe like some of the dangers and conditions you're going through to achieve these fastest times?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely dangerous and like shouldn't be taken lightly. And like I've also had experience on high mountains previously. Like prior to Aconcagua, I'd climbed Ojos del Salado, which is the second highest mountain in South America. So, I knew exactly what to expect at elevations of almost 23,000 feet. Ojos is like just a
Oh my
couple hundred
gosh.
feet shorter than Aconcagua, but like nobody knows what it is because it's not one of the seven summits. So it's just like a huge contrast between Ojos and then Aconcagua, and you get there to base camp and it's just like a zoo. But yeah, anyways, like Cape and Hace are like two very like significant problems at high altitude for some people. And so yeah,
Okay.
being aware of like what the symptoms are. And yeah, I don't know if it's like something like genetic, like growing up in Colorado, but like I've never struggled with altitude too much. And yeah, I know like I like what my limits are, and I'm able to go up like these mountains and like trail runners because like I'm moving fast and keeping my heart rate higher. But like the majority of these people like are wearing like 6,000 meter boots or even like higher and like full mountaineering suits. And so like there are definitely
Yeah.
risks by traveling like light and fast, but at the same time I do think speed is safety, and it's like if the weather turns, I can get down the mountain pretty fast as well.
Yeah. And that's where, I mean, not only is there a risk in going after some sort of goal like this in these extreme scenarios, but the FKT scene has really brought light to that light and fast mentality. And so when you're going up, like let's take some of your most recent ones. Like Cotopaxi will be very notable, and obviously Aconcagua. But both had, I'm sure, a very different kit for you in terms of what you brought with on those. So if you talk about Cotopaxi, which you got the FKT on as well, what were some of the maybe what were some of the stats of Cotopaxi itself, the adventure, and what gear did you choose to bring with on something like that?
Yeah, so I did the Cotopaxi short record as well, which is significantly less mileage than Aconcagua. It was only about 5K round trip from the Refugio up there,
Okay.
up to like 19,000 feet. And it's like
Oh my gosh.
only a vertical kilometer, but I did have to wear like a helmet for that. I brought an ice axe with me. There's like this piece where you traverse part of the mountain, and it's like not super technical or anything, but it is exposed. And if you do slip
Mm.
or like catch your crampon or something, you're gonna be sliding a ways, and there's like crevasses below. So that's definitely a no fall
Oh my
zone.
gosh.
Yeah. And then yeah, I wore a prototype pair of shoes from Teva, one of my sponsors. They're like trail runners, like carbon plated, super fast, but like kitted with a Gore-Tex upper gaiter. So like my feet stayed 100% dry, warm. I also had some like thermic heated socks with those. So yeah, it's pretty
Oh
cool.
my
Like I
gosh.
think we're like entering into a new phase in mountaineering and mountain running, like where like you're able to like bring trail runners up to these elevations, 20,000 feet and even higher.
and do just fine. And that's like, it's an exciting part for me, of course. Like that's our world of like all this gear and trail running gear. Like we are in a very modern age where we're not just kind of copying what's going on in the road running space. Like it's taking its own shape and form for these really specific crazy adventures that you can do. So you're taking this carbon plated shoe up a VK, how much did you say? Up to 19,000 feet?
Yep, and so that was kind of like the tester prior to Aconcagua, because then I later wore the same pair of Teva prototype shoes for the Aconcagua speed record, which is about 4,000 feet higher, up to 23,000 feet.
Okay. So what were some of the changes that you made from having that experience on Cotopaxi? And it was really within like not too much longer after that you did Aconcagua, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I think it was a couple weeks later. And the Aconcagua route is like a mixture of both like dry rock and scree and also like snowy terrain. I definitely brought way too many layers on the Aconcagua
Okay.
day than I needed, so my vest was pretty heavy. But it is one of those mountains, like it's notorious for having like wind speeds that are like 80 to 100 per hour, and so like I
Oh my God.
definitely I don't regret bringing the extra layers. I would rather be safe than sorry, but like I do think
Of
it
course.
goes faster, and my conditions also weren't perfect. Like I had to post hole down like this snow slope that like normally in dry conditions it's really bomber scree that you can like run
Okay.
down a couple thousand feet in a few minutes, and so mine was definitely more tedious and time consuming. So yeah, like I had an amazing day out there, like ended up getting the record by over an hour, but like still in the back of my mind, I'm like, "Oh, I know I can do it faster, like
That was going to be
in
my next
prime
question.
conditions."
Yeah. Yeah. And so the competitor in you, and I know it's slightly different, again, like we started talking about with the racing scene. So does the competitor of you on pretty much any of these routes want to go back to pretty much all these and try to perfect it? Or is that just not necessarily a personality trait of yours?
I think it depends on the route. Like, there are some routes that inspire me more than others, and Aconcagua is certainly one of those. And that's one of the aspects that I love about FKTs so much too, is like there are these like test pieces that like I can, go back and redo over the years and kind of like track my athletic progression. But I
Hmm.
will be going back for Aconcagua either way, because the long record is still on my list. So yeah, it works out. And yeah, I think this was a great way of me kind of like dipping my toes into the water and proving to myself that like I can play in like this world of like these high altitude mountain records. And yeah, it's opened up the door, and I think yeah, it's like now my wheels are turning about like the seven summits and making that a
Yep.
project and going after the record on each one of those.
Yeah. And so that's the thing of like, we had just our dirt division crew just finished a podcast talking like trying to talk people into this ultra running experience or trail running experience. Like what would we say about it? And that idea of like figuring out, like, obviously on these big adventures you have to be optimistic, but not, you can't be toxically optimistic to where you're going to get yourself in trouble. But when you do some of these things, you really can open your mind's eye to like what you're really capable of. And so that's like really cool to hear that like you just completed one of the seven summits, one of the most contested mountain peaks in the world in terms of time. And you're thinking, I can do that better and I could possibly do these other ones. So like when you think of next adventures, is that like within a year or is this like a multi-year thing you're planning out?
It's for sure a multi-year project, something of that scale. Probably like realistically within the 2 to 3 year time frame. Kilimanjaro is definitely on my list at a minimum for 2026. But especially when it comes to peaks like Vincent down in Antarctica and then Mount Everest in Nepal, it's more a matter of like funding. Those are like very expensive projects for the permitting and logistics. So yeah, definitely no rush to like finish them all, but they are all on my list.
Yeah. And I'm sure, as you were kind of alluding to, like, not just to complete them, but to complete them really well.
Yeah, and yeah, like I mentioned before, like it's all about the adventure for me, and so I really also appreciate the travel and the cultural component. And I know for like Karsten's pyramid in Indonesia, like getting there and dealing with like the local indigenous like culture and politics, that's a whole thing. So like that's also part of what I really look forward to as well.
Yeah. And being able to travel the world, you just not only get to experience these places, but the people. So when you're going to, like, you've been traveling through Central and South America for a while now, and like, what are your takeaways in terms of culture and just like being with a different group of people? I know you travel with familiar friends and whatnot, but you have to be in these cultures to access a lot of these places.
For sure. Yeah, I've been back and forth a lot from Ecuador to Argentina to Chile and back to Ecuador and now Argentina. And yeah, like it feels like for the past couple weeks I've been sleeping in a new bed every night. But the people down here, they've been so nice and incredible. And I do have like a core group of friends from the States who I do a lot of traveling with. But like even in Ecuador, for example, like after hearing about some of like my FKTs, like the local runners there, like they reached out to me and wanted to like link up to go on training runs or like offered to come crew and support me for when I do my Cotopaxi long record. And so that's another thing that I love about FKTs is you really get to immerse yourself in like a very specific place and find out like what routes are significant to the people there, who are like some of the most prominent trail runners. And now I feel like I have like this network of like friends all over the world.
That's amazing. And yeah, your comment on place kind of reminded me of like you've also had a project that connects you to your home place of Colorado. Not only are you known for having records on all the 14ers, you've also adventured into them with atypical gear. I would say it that way. Could you explain kind of that initiative and what you do and why are you doing it that way?
Why this crazy crazy person? Yeah, so one of the other projects that I'm known for is climbing Colorado's 14ers while wearing high heels. And this is a project that started a few years back when I finished just hiking all of the Colorado 14ers and didn't really identify as much of a trail runner or athlete back then. And I just wanted to celebrate. So I got all dressed up, wore a dress and high heels, and climbed Mount Elbert in them as kind of an homage to the fact that that was my first 14er that I ever hiked. And I just had a great time doing it. Shortly thereafter, I climbed a couple more 14ers and heels with my younger sister. And it kind of just became a tradition. Yeah, so I believe I've done 26 out of the 14ers there now in high heels, including
Wow.
like longs, capital, pyramid, the bells.
So taking off a lot of the really technical ones. And do you have a specific pair that you wear? Are you like, I don't really know high heels, like stilettos I know are a type of heel. Like what kind of high heel are you wearing?
Yeah, they're not stilettos by any means. They're like 3 to 4 inch, like strappy kitten heels. And I rotated through like 3 or 4 pairs of really cheap heels when I started the project, and then this
Yeah.
Italian designer brand called Mink. They make like all vegan leather and suede. They
Okay.
reached out to me and like custom made me a pair. They're like $600-700 pair of shoes. I was like, you do know I'm just going to destroy.
Sweet.
Right? But those held up for a long time, and now I may or may not have something in the works with Teva, my sponsors.
That was going to be my
That's really
next question.
exciting that, yeah, they're hopping on board to support that, and like stoked on this project, you know, even though it is pretty silly. I feel like
Yeah.
it's a great way to kind of counterbalance some of like the seriousness in like competitive trail running and FKTs and racing. Like, it's a project, you know, I can just go out and be silly and goofy and like get dressed up and embrace like my girly side, even though like majority of the time, like I'm dirty and sweaty and just like in running clothes. Like, I can go out and just like hike at about the same pace as like my friends and my sister, and we can just have a go have a fun day in the mountains.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that there's a kind of a balance there of seriousness and playfulness of like, we probably all could use a little high heel hiking in our life, I guess, just to not take
You're
things
more
too
than welcome
seriously.
to come out and enjoy me next time.
I did wear heels one time in my life in middle school, and I did win a race in them. I will tell you that,
Oh,
but
wow.
I will never do that again. I'll say that.
I do know there
I do
is
want
a
to.
guy who's out there running marathons in high heels. And one woman,
Dude,
she's
no
climbed
way.
Kilimanjaro in heels.
Okay, got to go take that record. Come on, Erin. We're rooting for you.
I'll do the speed record and then go back the next day in heels.
Yeah, double back. Yeah, insult to injury there. I do want to comment on Teva though, because I mean Teva has been more recently heavily investing into the trail. I know they have this legacy of having outdoor footwear that's well known, but they're really going into this adventure side, this trail running, more quicker movement, and I think they're at a really cool place. These are just my observations, not just because you're a Teva athlete, but I think Teva is at a really cool place, and I'm hoping you're feeling this as an athlete, where they're kind of on this tipping point in that the world is kind of their oyster. They have the backing of the Deckers brand, which is massive, also owns Hoka and a bunch of other major brands, but they don't have necessarily the ego that goes with it as some of these other brands. And so there's kind of matches your personality again. Like there's a seriousness, but also playfulness that is really cool about them right now. And how does that, like, how do you feel as being a Teva Bureau of Adventure athlete with them and like looking to the future with them?
Yeah, all your sentiments there are like spot on, and I feel like that is
Okay, cool.
why Teva as a brand and me like jived so well starting off. And yeah, I think like at first, this is my second year with them. At first when they reached out, like I was a little bit like intimidated because I didn't know much about them as like a mountain running brand. I was like, I only, you know, knew them as a sandal brand.
Exactly.
And I think
And
that
in my
intimidated.
mind, yeah,
Yeah,
you
go
might
for
have
it.
felt intimidated. In my mind, just like as an onlooker of the sport, like I'm a fan, follow a lot of athletes, both racing, FKTs, and seeing you kind of make a switch from an established mountain brand to Teva, initially I was just like, that's an interesting move.
Mhm.
But now, like seeing all these pieces come together, it seems like it makes sense. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, no, no. Yeah, I think like, yeah, initially like my previous sponsor, like I loved their product, their footwear, and I was very like secure and set with them. But like honestly, like the prototypes I've been trying out with Teva and I've been wearing for my FKTs, if given the option, and even if I wasn't sponsored by them, I would grab the pair of shoes that I've been wearing over like my prior shoes. So I feel like, you know, it's like kind of like the world is our oyster, like having the
Mhm.
backing of Deckers, like in their innovation lab. Like we have access to a ton of resources, and it's like a kid in a candy shop. You know, I can like design like anything I want in a shoe. Like, you know, my Aconcagua prototypes, for example, and like they're super receptive to like the projects that motivate me and inspire me and want to figure out how to support that and uplift that. So, yeah, it's like my job is to go out into the field, beat up their shoes, like tell them what works, what doesn't work, what they need to improve. And yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah, that has to be such a, like you have such a unique opportunity as a professional athlete compared to many other athletes out there. And so that just has to make you feel so good about the things you're looking forward to of like, we may not have that now, but we will go on that adventure with you and have what you need to be prepared for anything coming your way. That's a really cool place to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially like since so much of what I do is like off-trail terrain, or just like scrambling, fourth, fifth class in the mountains. Like, I feel like we're getting to this era in trail running where there's like so much specialization and like, they have other athletes on their roster, like Mike Wardian, for example, and he's like super fast and talented, like road runner as well. And so like
Yeah.
having a product line that can like support that and span anywhere from like the really fast, like road 5Ks, marathons to like technical backcountry alpine terrain is like really cool.
Yeah. Having a huge resume for sure. And yeah, that's exciting. I'm really excited for 2026, looking 2027 as well. And as you look personally, I know you have a race this weekend, but what's kind of like your next steps after that? I know you have to plan out being a world traveler and going after so many different challenges. What else is on your plate in the next half a year, I suppose?
Yeah, planning is such a loose term when it comes
Yeah.
to me. So much of my adventures are like last minute and spontaneous. Uh, Delving more into like the seven summits and Kilimanjaro are definitely up there, as I mentioned. For April, my partner, he's also a mountain athlete, Chris Fisher, and I are most likely going to be heading back to Nepal. We've been
Okay.
like looking into the Great Himalayan Trail, which is almost 1,000 miles, and it spans all across the mountains of Nepal. There's a couple different like variations. You can do the high route, which goes over all the high 5,000-meter passes, or the cultural route, or a
Okay.
combination of them both. No person has like ever done the same thing, but yeah, it'd probably take us about a month. So yeah,
Okay.
that's what I love about
Wow.
FKTs. Like some of mine are like under an hour, just like short mountain redlining sprints, and then others are like multi-day adventures. And this would be a true adventure, going through these little villages in Nepal that like nobody else gets to see.
Yeah. And that's so cool because like again, you have such a unique cool job that's what you get to do and adventure in all these different places where most people would never dream of being, whereas races are mostly established in established areas where these are just like off the beaten path where there isn't even a path. Like that's just amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I always knew like I wanted to travel when I grew up, but like I always thought, like when I was younger, I thought traveling was more like vacations and you plan it and take time off work. And so now to be able to do this like for a living and as a job, like I'm super appreciative, and it's not anywhere near where I thought I'd be like when I graduated college a couple years ago and thought I'd be going to law school. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is very different.
Sorry,
That's
Dad, but I'm
awesome.
glad I didn't
Okay,
go to
well,
law school.
oh yeah, you can always go to law school later if you need to.
Now the world is my office, so can't complain.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Okay, well, Erin, thanks so much for sitting down again and chatting with me. It's great to talk, and we just wish you the best and this big year coming up, and congrats on what's already happened.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll have to link up for a run when I get back to Colorado.
Yeah, if you come back to the homeland sometime, I would love that. Okay, let's plan on it.
Sweet.
Okay, see you later, Erin.
Bye, Taylor.
Good stretch, got my laces tied. My trusty podcast by my side. If you wanna tuck run, it's the place to be. Yeah, it's the drop. D-R-O